But the latest craze from the land of the rising sun has absolutely nothing to do with bling. Drifting, the art of performance with style. For the next half hour, prepare to watch as high-revving, rear-wheel drive rides slide through the corners in an effort to one-up the competition. Now, don't tell me you haven't thought about doing this yourself. Well, the crowd is ready for some different action here at Indianapolis Raceway Park. I'm in the oval track at IRP, just outside of Indianapolis, Indiana. Hello again, everyone. I'm Ted Jones, and I'll be your host for the next 30 minutes as we bring you the hottest new motorsport to hit the States in I don't know how many years. This is the Toyo Tires Drift Shootout presented by Kawasaki, and this happens to be what's called a clipping point. Now, what is that? Well, you're going to see a new sport. You've never seen anything like it before. Doc Riley will be along in just a minute to tell us about that. But what exactly is the sport of drifting? Well, it involves sport compact cars and import cars. At least it started that way. Now they have El Caminos, in a Cadillacs, full-size cars, you name it. They've got it in the sport of drifting. And here to tell us about those cars, Griff Allen, our expert analyst.
Thanks very much, Ted. Now, regardless of what car is chosen for drifting, the most important aspect is that it be rear-wheel drive, because it is an overpower condition that does put and hold a car in a drift. Now, power, the element that is most essential maybe, comes from the engine, which doesn't necessarily have to be big. You're really wasting your time with less than 300 horsepower, and ideally, you get that from a turbocharger, one that spools up quickly so that you have a lot of response, a lot of horsepower at a high RPM range, but then choose an engine where you have good mid-range torque. So if you're off boost, you still can spin the rear end. Now, steering. Of course, they're judged on high drift angle. We're going to learn more about that. So how do you add more steering angle from the factory setup? You do that by replacing aftermarket linkages and sometimes by cutting and pasting on the inside. Now, of course, the drive wheels at the rear end. Of course, the open differential does you no good because the wheel that has the least resistance is the one that will receive all the power. You need a limited slip differential. And what's ideal here, aside from a viscous coupling, is you can get even better performance out of a clutch pack in the back end of the machine. Now, the suspension is set up much like road racing, but we use different valves, different valve rates, we use different spring settings, and a little bit softer in the rear end, but it very closely resembles a road racing setup. And then, of course, if you're going to go pro, you better go pro. You better have your roll cage in there, as well as your racer seat. You can save weight by removing the passenger seat. And, of course, don't forget, strap on your helmet and then take up the art of drifting that Doc Riley will tell you more about.
Thanks, Griff. Let's take a look at the art of the drift. This is a subjected judged event. We're not going to worry about speed. We're not going to worry about ETs. It's all about what the judges interpret from our competitors. What will they look at? The clipping point. It's very essential. It sits right in the apex of the corner. They will look for speed coming into this zone right here. They'll look at the drift angle and then the X factor, that showmanship, that flair. That's what the drivers will be trying to add up to impress our judges and also thrill the people in the seats.
All right, Doc, thank you very much. We'll start right out with the Pro Division. They are the stars of the show. Joining me in the booth now is Griff Allen. And Griff, explain to us exactly what's happening here with two cars.
Well, Suiso, basically the tandem drifting. The idea of the lead car is to set a mark that can't be mimicked by the competition. That's not what you want to mimic. That is Floorjack, as his nickname is, looking in his rear view mirrors, something you never want to do in drifting. That lets his competitor move on to win by default, advancing to the next round. Take a look now and look at Clint Floorjack as we want to go back and see in the replay. When you're drifting as the lead car, you have to drift the course. You have to ignore what's behind you. You can see that he got target fixated and just drilled the hydro barriers. We were hoping never to use them, but they came in handy. Look one more time, coming straight at you.
I noticed a lot of smoke off the rear tires, but not off the front ones. Doc?
First out of the blocks right here and rumpled it up all the way through practice and everything. First of all, are you doing all right?
I'm fine.
Probably very disappointed. It's been a good weekend here for you all the way through, and to get in this qualifying session, but to wrinkle the car up, just your thoughts.
It's a little disappointing. to say the least.
Can always regroup in tomorrow, and for once in a while, the first thing that we've seen, a wrinkled up car, but the driver all right, airbag deployed, all the safety features working on this ride.
All right, Doc, thank you very much. This ESPN2 Speed World coverage from Indianapolis, Indiana is brought to you by Toyo Tires, driven to perform. And by Greed Custom Wheels. Enough is never enough. We'll be back with more after this.
Thursday, October 6th at 7 p.m. Eastern on ESPN2.
If improved wet and dry traction, lowered noise generation, and high-speed stability doesn't sound exciting to you, then you probably wouldn't like being one of our test engineers. Introducing the all-new Proxys T1R, our most advanced performance tire ever. Toyo Tires, driven to perform.
A rainforest, the ultimate torture test for your deck. Thompson's Water Seal Advanced, the ultimate protection. It seals out 99% of the water right from the start. For a longer lasting deck, get the most powerful protection against water damage guaranteed. Thompson's Water Seal Advanced.
At Samuel Adams, we thought we could make a better light beer than anybody else.
Our standard was a light beer without any sacrifice to flavor.
After 2 years and a wagon load of trials, we finally made a full-bodied, flavorful light beer.
When people first tasted it, they had trouble believing it was a light beer.
Sam Adams Light reaches a level of flavor that light beer has never gotten to before.
Yeah, who do you love?
It's time for the lending industry to change. That's why eLoan has consultants who don't make money based on the rate of the loan and has no lender fees. Those are some of the revolutionary ways we're changing the lending industry. eLoan. Radically simple.
Back in Indianapolis, hey, they also ran some Kawasaki's around this drifting course.
Well, Kawasaki presenting sponsor sending the amateur winner to the D1 driver search in December. Letting the good times roll as we're rolling into our next pair. Vaughn Gittin Jr. goes by JR from Drift Alliance. He's going up against Shane Benson in the Toyo Shad Miata. Now, the remarkable thing here is that Vaughn Gittin Jr. got into this car owned by Peter Trom after he grenaded the turbo in his own car in this first round of qualifying. The second pass that Vaughn tried to qualify with, he just didn't have the boost, so the third qualifying pass was the first pass that he ever had in that 240. So the chase that he just put up there was only his second pass. We're going to look one more time because in the tandem drift we then invert the order. Vaughn Gittin now sets the mark by getting the drift set up early, well before the apex of the corner, right before the clipping point, and you can see now that Shane is chasing in that short wheelbase Mazda. Now the Mazda can get sideways very easily, but because of the short wheelbase, they don't transition very well. They're a little bit snappy, and you can supercharge them and turbocharge them, but it's a little bit tough to get all the power that that 240 can get out of it. So JR advances.
Hey, congratulations here at IRP. That's got to be good moving on to the next round.
Yeah, I'm very excited. I broke my car in qualifying, blew my turbo in my Team Falcon 240 Drift Alliance. And gentleman Peter from Ohio was nice enough to let me run his S14, slap some Falcon tires on it, and here I am, heading on to the next round.
And the next pair will feature Harry Tervola against Fedor Andreev.
Coming up next, I'll tell you, the BMW, a big, heavy machine that has got a turbocharger in there to get the power that it needs, and Harry has improved more than any other drifter all weekend long. Hitting that machine more and more sideways. You can see a little bit of understeer there, but boom, you see the turbo come right back on and get the car sideways, and his competitor gets a little bit too sideways, can't complete the transition to the other side, so it's going to be German power to the front. Now remember, this is only the first round of competition, the first half of the pair. We now have an unbroken car that is going to be able to make it to the line one more time. A little bit too much yaw rate, a little bit too much rotation that just can't be caught.
I was catching up to him a little bit too quickly and kind of got a tiny bit out of control.
So now they'll reverse the positions, and we'll see how the Beamer can do this time.
In fact, we will. The Beamer now chasing Fedor. Now, Fedor, interestingly enough, born in Russia, lives in the States, but he's a Canadian citizen. He will be in the 2006 Olympics in Italy as a figure skater representing Canada. Now, the idea of fluid transition, of moving a center of mass through a curvaceous course, that is something that he is very handy with. You can see it here, is that when he has the opportunity to set the pace, he is able to get the job done. Remember, Fedor got no points because he spun the first round. That's so hard to make up, so Harry Travola from Finland will advance.
Good job.
Thank you. I tried my hardest. I was pushing the car, really pushing it to keep up with him. He's fast. He's good.
All right, coming up next will be Mike Peters and Alan Fatel.
Now, Mike Peters, Bubba Drift as he's called, this guy gets it. I mean, every other word out of his mouth is please or thank you or may I. He is able to set up the drift, while the Miata is not. You can see once again how twitchy the short wheelbase car is.
The El Camino having the longer wheelbase, a definite advantage. And also, if you thought this was just for import cars, check out the Flowmaster-sponsored vehicle. The El Camino doing very well indeed.
And I'll tell you, Bubba Drift with that light rear end, one thing he's able to do, and the crowd just loves him, is get smoke and wheel speed.
Your thoughts on a trip around IRP's track?
That was a lot of fun. I'm just happy to be out here. These guys are awesome. Bubba Drift's going to win this event. I know it.
Well, I tell you put on a great show, and it's far from over yet. We'll find the judge's decision in just a second, but some nice passes. Would you do anything different?
Oh, yeah. I'd get bigger tires next time, more horsepower.
And contrary to popular belief, Ted, you do need traction to drift. When you're learning, yes, you get skinny tires and you overinflate them. But when you really get good, you need the traction to keep the speed up, and you need the horsepower to overcome the friction to break the tires loose. Now, Alan Fatel in the Flying Miata, supercharged with a Whipple supercharger to over 200 horsepower, just can't outdo Bubba Drift.
Bubba Drift coming in with that El Camino, and I mean the crowd loves it. So here's the way they'll pair up. They do it a little unusual in drifting. My favorite has to be Mike Peters, Bubba Drift, and that great El Camino.
Ted, I hate to correct you, but this is not an El Camino. We are here with Mike Bubba Drift. What is this make, model, and year?
This is actually a 1986 GMC Caballero. It is not an El Camino.
Why are you involved in the sport of drifting?
I've been autocrossing for a couple years. I've always grown up around cars. My dad raced on dirt tracks, and I've always been known to do rather stupid things. In high school, I did burnouts. I was your typical parents don't let friends ride with Mike speed. And I got into drifting. A couple friends took me out to an event, and I went out there and I was like, hey, you're smoking the tires all the way around. You cannot get kicked out. I should get a car for this. And that's pretty much how it happened.
Let's talk specifically about the makeup of this drift vehicle. What do you have underneath the hood?
Underneath the hood is a actually stock internal LS1, stock cam, stock head, stock rotating assembly. And on top we have a Magnuson blower, and it's pushing about 5 pounds, 420 of the rear wheels, and that's about all as far as under the hood. We have a Flowmaster dual exhaust, and other than that, that's pretty much all we have motor-wise.
Now you seem like kind of a show-off a little bit. Does that Flowmaster exhaust kind of help you show off a little bit?
It's pretty loud. It's pretty fun to kind of rack it off real loud, but the show-off thing, just drifting is about having fun and just going crazy, and that's pretty much all I do out there. So I haven't found the line as far as getting kicked out on track today, so I got a little bit of work to do, I guess.
So far, so good. Bubba Drift, and I've got to point out one very important feature on this. Take a look at the e-brake handle right here. I don't think that is a stock part.
Free your grill from the backyard with Freedom Grill, the most convenient full-size barbecue on the market. You literally drive with it on your car. Camping, boating, and tailgating have never been easier. Your friends will love it. Featuring stainless steel construction, 527 inches of cooking space, 30,000 BTUs, and it accepts standard propane tank. Stow the propane, sling shut, and go. With the optional backyard stand, the Freedom Grill can be your only grill. Order now. Call 866-96-GRILL.
Available only on the Nissan Altima.
Tonight at 7:30, Air Force soars into Utah for a Mountain West battle. On ESPN2 at 8, ante up for a pair of episodes of the World Series of Poker. Then at 10,
they need this young kid to step up, and he's delivered.
Baseball Tonight cleans up with the latest Diamond news.
Maybe the White Sox starting to feel that heat just a little bit.
It's all on tonight. For breaking news and scores, turn to ESPN News.
Crystal Palace, a whole new level of Chinese buffet. Experience the buffet that goes on forever and is packed with traditional Chinese favorites, plus the not-so-traditional choices like lobster balls, calamari, fried flounder, plus crab legs at dinner. Stop by the grill bar for even more choices like pork loin, vegetables, and featuring prime rib at dinner. Don't forget the salad and dessert bar, including ice cream. And the kids will love the mac and cheese, corn dogs, chicken nuggets, and more at the kids bar. So pack it high and keep coming back. The buffet is always kept stocked and fresh. Crystal Palace, Chinese buffet and more on Capitol Boulevard in Raleigh.
Time Warner presents excuses to watch more Major League Baseball. Aren't the kids old enough to change their own diapers? Crush a 90-mile-an-hour fastball, then you can have my attention. I promise I'll stop watching at halftime. You'll need all the excuses you can get with MLB Extra Innings on digital cable. Now you can watch your favorite out-of-market team as they race for the pennant, no matter where you live. Call now to order for just $49. When it comes to sports, we're on your team.
Back at IRP at the Toyo Tires Drift Shootout presented by Kawasaki. Let's check in now once again with Doc Riley.
As you walk around the manufacturer's midway at the Toyo Tires ITB, you're going to see lots of great products for all these incredible machines are here. One company has been in business for nearly 60 years, and these guys have got it done right. The fitments are all over the place. Greg Vandenberg from Toyo joins us, and hey, I tell you one thing, what a great day it is, man.
It's awesome out here. It looked like a little rain earlier, but everything cleaned out, and it's beautiful out.
You guys have got tires that fit everything from the low rider all the way up to a lifted vehicle.
Yes, sir. We're pretty versatile. That's why we're out here to showcase those products. And as you mentioned, I mean, we can fit from the smallest truck out here up to the biggest SUV and pickup truck that they have out here.
What should someone look for when they're looking for a set of tires?
Like I said, look for performance and affordability and good quality in the product. We've been 8 years now running in Tire Review as #1 in product quality, so we're pretty proud of that.
And you can see your tires from everything from off-road vehicles to lifted vehicles to maybe even on the drag strip. A couple of guys have got tires we noticed during the runs.
Sure, we're working on a new product right now. Our drag selector just got back from testing and it's going real well, and we should be able to introduce that this fall.
During the ITB weekend, you guys are all over the place. We've got drifting that's going on here, and that seems to be just really lighting people up.
Yeah, it's been the hot box lately, and we've been very, very consistent there and having a great product out there with our Proxys 4 and T1R. And we've got a Mustang that's campaigning, has a good chance of possibly winning the title this year at Formula Drift.
You know, it seems like once you come on to something with tires, you couldn't improve upon it. But as we've just heard, you guys are always kind of forward-thinking and always coming up with a new product line.
Sure, always working on that. The light truck's kind of a premiere for us right now. We're doing some of the core racing and things, and we get a lot of that technology from the racing, which has been very good for us. And it's been a very good year there.
So many product lines. How can people get more information?
Well, we've got 2 websites they can go check us out on. One would be teamtoyo.com and toyo.com to get a dealer near them.
Driven to perform. That's Toyo Tires, and you can see them all over the street, the strip, off-road, and keep your eyes open because they may be coming up with new products that will enhance your ride in the very near future.
All right, thank you very much, Doc Riley. Let's go now in the Pro Division. This is the semifinals with Nate Braz and J.R. Gettin.
I'll tell you, JR, once again, his gift is the intuition of drifting. See how early he starts it? He holds oversteer all the way through the corner. A very smooth transition that can't be met by his competition. So he will finish out. Nate Braz is going to receive a 0, and by default, then it's going to be Vaughn Gittin Jr. getting scored the top score for this pass. Remember now, we've got a chance to swap them, and then we're going to have another shot possibly for Nate to overcome his mistake. One more time, you can see Nate had some understeer there. You can see the wheel steering into it. The car just basically over-rotated and hooked.
So they'll reverse positions and try it one more time. This is the only chance he's going to have now to try and get it right.
I'll tell you, Nate Braz, though, showed up early from the 0 lift entry. Good entry as the very early initiation. However, Nate carries a little bit too wide. Vaughn Gittin Jr. applying a lot of pressure, but backs it off there. Now, in drifting, they are allowed to touch, but if the touch does result in the spin or contact with a solid barrier, that is the loss by the car that initiated the contact. These are the categories of scores coming in to show that Vaughn wins this round again.
Is that fun or what?
It's absolutely amazing. I do it all the time. I've been doing it for 4 years. Every time I get out of the car, it's like the first time.
You guys were perfectly in tandem. Even though a little bobble over there in that inner loop, you guys still were right on top of it.
Yeah, well, you know, it was a blast. Nathan's a great driver, and I'm just very excited to move on.
Congratulations, you're moving on at 253.
Yes.
Up next will be Harry Tervola and the crowd favorite, Mike Peters, and that, I stand corrected, Caballero.
There we go, Ted. And the World Drift Championship scoring system is what we're using here this weekend. 3 distinct categories. It's going to be corner entry speed. It's going to be drift angle. And then it's going to be accuracy to the clipping point, which Harry Tervola unfortunately can't match at that point. The 4th category that the World Drift Championships score with is going to be the X Factor. That is the flair. That is the style. It's what you're looking at right there in the hands of Bubba Drift. And listen to the crowd, Ted.
No doubt he's going to the final, but what happened with Harry Tervola? Doc asked him just that.
What's the toughest thing when you're out there behind the wheel actually trying to do? Concentrate, drive, watch? What do you do?
Toughest thing is to make sure your lines are right and feel the car. It's so easy to make a mistake and go over because you only got two wheels that are controlling your whole car instead of 4. So it's to feel the car is by far the toughest thing.
So now in the second run, they reverse positions. And I'll tell you, Harry is going to have to come up with a rabbit out of a hat because Bubba Drift really scored high in that first round.
In fact, he did. Look at Harry Tervola in the TerraTech machine, part of a 3-car entry coming all the way up from Florida to Indianapolis. He's trying to initiate the drift early and set a mark that Bubba Drift cannot match. And although he missed a couple of marks, he's improving a little bit towards the late stages of the course, Ted.
Yeah, but he got into the grass one more time, Griff, and I think that's going to hurt him.
In fact, it did. He lost a little bit of speed. Bubba Drift was able to close up. The scores come in, and we can see all across the board, Bubba Drift advances.
Absolutely blowing the competition away. A little spin there to put a big exclamation point on it.
Does this track seem a little narrow, or do you have enough room to play?
It's narrow. There's not going to be any passing unless somebody goes extremely wide. Maybe on the last corner. The track's very narrow, but for drifting, you really shouldn't be passing unless the guy in front of you really, really messes up. And this course is just kind of it's a pretty good example of that. You really have to mess up. There cannot be a forced pass on this course.
All right, so it'll be Peters and getting in the final, but also we'll have another race to decide 3rd and 4th.
We're back for more drifting after this. Keep it real.
Tuesday. The leader of this country will change.
I'm going to run this government.
The politics will change.
If you want out, you tell me now.
Hope will be renewed.
I'm going to do the right thing for the American people.
And the White House will never be the same.
The President of the United States. I ask the people of the United States to stand with me now, unwavering.
Gina Davis, Donald Sutherland, Commander-in-Chief, premieres Tuesday, 9/8 Central, only on ABC. If improved wet and dry traction, lowered noise generation, and high-speed stability doesn't sound exciting to you, then you probably wouldn't like being one of our test engineers. Introducing the all-new Proxys T1R, our most advanced performance tire ever. Toyo tires, driven to perform.
It's time people who get loans are treated fairly. That's why eLoan has no lender fees. Check out our current monthly refinancing options. Those are some of the revolutionary ways we're changing the lending industry. eLoan. Radically simple.
2 patties, cheese, lettuce, tomato.
Extra pickles. Real juicy. Lots of cheese and tomato.
Double with bacon. The works.
Double extra cheese. Triple beef.
Ketchup, mustard.
The Triple H burger.
Hamburger. Whose burger?
The Dave burger.
The John burger. My burger.
A rainforest, the ultimate torture test for your deck. Thompson's Water Seal Advanced, the ultimate protection. It seals out 99% of the water right from the start. For a longer lasting deck, get the most powerful protection against water damage guaranteed. Thompson's Water Seal Advanced.
This ESPN2 Speed World coverage of the Toyo Tires Drift Shootout, presented by Kawasaki, is brought to you by Toyo Tires, driven to perform. And by Tornado. Don't drive without it under the hood.
Indianapolis Raceway Park is legendary, of course, for the U.S. Nationals, and the Manufacturers Midway also legendary this weekend as Toyo Tires brings you the ITB in all of its grandeur, all of its great form. And of course, we've got the man that knows everything. He knows everything about style. He knows everything about looking good. He knows everything about, well, the mighty dollar sign. It is Captain Greed. How are you?
I'm wonderful. How are you doing?
Outstanding. You have got probably one of the most outstanding displays because it screams, look at me, look at me, look at me. And it's all about Greed Custom Wheels.
It's all about money. We're all here to put it on the street. We're all there to make it. Got to look good. Don't want to look like no chumps. No ghetto box is complete without a set of Greed wheels.
Tell me a little bit about Greed Wheels. What sets them apart?
Well, Greed really focuses on hard-to-fit vehicles, the older, the cars that are on the street that people are starting to fix up again. It's not all about the brand-new cars. You want to put a set of 22s on an old car? We can do it at Greed. Ain't no problem. Ain't no problem.
If people want to find out more, do they have to come find you, or can they do it a little bit more conservative?
If you want to come find me, that's fine. I'll sell you anything you want. But if you want to go to our website, that's fine, or any of your local wheel retailers, just ask for Greed. Tell them Captain sent you.
Captain Greed. Enough is never enough, correct?
Never enough.
Never enough. Greed Custom Wheels, they've got an incredible fitment, a great line, and of course, they're looking good, just like the Captain.
All right, Doc Riley. Now let's go to the consolation race. This will decide third and fourth.
Yeah, here we got Nate Braz and Harry Travola, and these are going to prove to you that it doesn't matter what your rims are. Drifting is all about heart. It's all about commitment. Some people think it's like throwing a baseball or a bowling ball or even an high-a-lie. It's that when you throw the car into the corner, what you do at the very beginning of the initiation of the drift will influence what happens throughout the drift, which is controlled by dynamics that are unlike anything that you know if you know anything about road racing. A lot of road racers think they'd be good drifters, but they're amazed at how difficult it is, Ted.
Now they'll reverse positions one more time. That was one of the closest competitions I've seen. You can tell these guys are racing for third and fourth.
In fact, and Harry tries to be the rabbit to run off and hide to initiate the drift that cannot be copied by Nate Braz. Nate so far is doing the following in the zero lift machine. Able to catch up towards the end, but I wonder if it's too little too late. Almost having a pass, but both of them falter, stubbing their toe at the very end. This one is going to come down to what the judges decide, and they come in favor of Nate Braz, awarding him third spot. Closely, Travola in fourth.
Very close on the judging.
And the crowd was shouting one more time. The judges have made the decision they're not going to get it this time.
So let's go to the final now and see who our champion's going to be. Obviously, the crowd favorite has to be
Bubba Drift. But I'll tell you, Vaughn Gittin Jr. from Drift Alliance representing here and showing a whole lot of heart, a car he's never drifted before. He's able to initiate the drift a little bit later, but catch up, closing up towards the midsection of the course, able to transition right with Mike Peters and possibly making the pass at the exit of the course, but no, not enough power. So, round one, rather the first pass, I've got to score that a little bit even. I want to give it to Peters in Bubba Drift on the flare factor. We now reverse them, Ted, and right now JR is going to try to get out. Watch how early he initiates that drift. And this time, Bubba Drift follows through. He's opened up a little bit of a gap. That's not necessarily the thing you want to do. You want to let your follower follow you. You want to let that person catch up. I don't know if JR got out a little bit too early or not. However, Peters is staying in it with Bubba Drift. Now he comes into view, and he had a good run, but who was able to put on the best game? The judges give it so closely to JR. Look at that, 5 points.
Well, JR a little closer on the clipping point.
That's got to be it, and the celebration begins.
Well, let me tell you this. You are the winner, 258 to 253, razor thin margin.
Yes, just want to thank K&N, Rockford Fosgate, Peter Chu. This guy, I blew my car, blew my turbo, borrowed his car, slapped some Falcon tires on it, and I won.
Now they had hydraulics and amateur drifting too, Griff.
In fact, they did. Tadashi Ikegami got his check paid by Kawasaki to go to the D1 Driver Search December 15th at Irwindale.
Here's the way all the final results came in our pro category. Our congratulations to JR Getting right there. Also, here's the hydraulic winter competition. These guys get really radical with this. They call it dancing.
And congratulations to our car show winners as well.
That'll bring to a close our coverage of the Toyo Tires Drift Shootout, presented by Kawasaki. I'm Ted Jones for Griff Allen and Doc Riley. This has been a presentation of ESPN, the worldwide leader in sports. With only 4 races left on the 2005